Hey everyone, welcome to Recreators Series Review. I'm gonna pick up kind of where I left off. Well, halfway through the series, even though this is mostly gonna be covering the second half of the series. I think episode 15 through the end, 20, yeah, 22. So it's gonna be just mainly mostly a recap of the second half, which kind of was easy to talk about because they had an overall plot of what they're gonna do, and to get caught where they left off they had a plan where they would create this big event that all the writers and creators would make this giant crossover and play it off as like an anime special where the crowd would get to watch this kind of thing play out, not realizing that the crowd didn't figure it out that it was real because Midoriya created this like copy of another part of the city so they could fight freely and do what they wanted. So the people kind of the audience watching and following this event for the last couple of weeks, just thought it was like one big anime event that they got to see, some of their favorite shows and favorite characters cross over in the big like mega thing. Their mega sphere is what they called it near the end. But so yeah, that was the plan called the Birdcage, and basically was a trap Hime into another world and get rid of her. But leading up to those events, we get the final showdown where it's the fight behind takes place. And everyone's doing their thing, and even Alice, who we speculated a long time ago that she would not be staying by Hime's side for far too long. Same with Blitz. Even he didn't stay on the team very long, and even the other JoJo character that uh, the other guy fought, he had nunchucks. He even joined the good guy side. So in the end, Hime was by herself with only Sharon, which is I guess a big reveal that Celeste has to fight Sharon, her partner, or friend from her world, who has the same kind of power set as she does. I think he's a little bit more powerful right here at this moment, but he fell for the same thing that everyone else that he may recruited fell for. That if you join me, help me do what I need to do, I'll help save your world. And yeah, everyone kind of figured out that was a lie and not gonna happen. She had no intention of saving anyone's worlds, just her own and getting revenge for Setsuna. But yeah, so eventually at the end, she's by herself with just Sharon and Celeste. With the help of the other kid, I forgot his name. They kind of double team on him and Celeste ends up fighting by herself and, does the ultimate sacrifice of blowing herself up, while holding his machine. So she sacrificed herself in the kind of a heroic way to, stop Sharon because she tried and tried and tried, but no matter what she said, he wouldn't believe her. So about Hime being a liar and not really gonna do what she said she was gonna do, which was sad. And the same thing episode prior to that, we had Alice versus Hime, which Hime did this move where whatever Alice did to her was reflected back at Alice, and Alice drove a spear through Hime, it kind of reversed and went through Alice instead. So she died during that, but I think she died kind of a hero in everyone else's eyes because she did switch sides and try to help them after they figured out what her plan was. But at the end of that, we had all these character deaths suddenly, and everyone's feeling a little defeated. Even the new girl that joined is kind of a dating sim character from a dating game. She eventually gets a rework where she has like special powers, just like she can do martial arts and has all these strong attacks. And even with her new power, she is no match for Hime as well. So she gets beaten, and they're like at the end of the rope here. But the creators reveal their first trump card, and it was kind of a big surprise. I didn't really see it coming, but thinking back on it, it's the only way they could actually fight Hime. But they revealed this copy of Hime pops up out of the ground. She's kind of like a like a mirrored copy of her. She has the same powers and everything, but has no personality. They removed the like a personality because that way she wouldn't turn. Same thing with Hime. But yeah, so it was kind of cool seeing that Hime actually had to fight against herself, and she lost. But I think everyone kind of figured it. There was one more episode after that was like there ain't no way they're getting rid of it that easily. And they revealed, I guess, the original Hime disabsorbed the new one and has his new form. So basically, I would say logically do a double hold power maybe, like a fusion. So she took over this new body and has the same powers, but maybe they're even stronger. Because after that, she was again hard to beat for any of the characters, and she looked like she was gonna win, but a I guess Shota kind of revealed something too. He had something hidden as well. A one of his, I guess his, because they were kind of keeping his story what he was doing under wraps. But with him, he did have this conversation before with Megane, and she kind of put a curse on him that a lie would become a truth, or something like that, like she did with a bunch of the other characters throughout the series. And his reveal, I guess, is I kind of called it in one of my reviews that the only way I would think logically to beat um, Hime, it was so powerful right now, was to have her have Setsuna come back and talk to her, and that's what they did. Shota revealed that he did create a copy of Setsuna. He did feel a little weird about it, but with doing so, they were to create this other pocket dimension that where I guess she was trying to go where she killed herself. And Hime and her talk, and they finally have this face-to-face talk, even though Hime realizes that you know obviously this Setsuna is a copy, not the real original one, and it starts. They have this conversation and they get emotional towards the end. So Setsuna managed to talk Hime out of destroying the world that so the two of them could be together. And as Setsuna was gonna basically recreate killing herself again by throwing herself in front of the train, Hime jumped in the way and stopped her from doing that and promised that they'd be together forever. And so that's pretty much what happened. Setsuna was successful in talking Hime down from destroying the world, and both of them went to their own world to create something, to create their own world. And we don't really get to see the aftermath of that. Just Hime and Setsuna kind of together, and they they managed to win without killing her. So I guess that's a win in their books that they were successful and they all survived. But I think a day or a week later they reveal Midora was sent everyone back home through the portals. So and all the creators have one final chat with their creators that they kind of ask them before they leave. Could you make our worlds a little bit more, a little less harsh? And most of the creators kind of agreed, but the Blitz's creators kind of like, I'm not gonna make it peaceful quite yet. You're still gonna go through some trials, and he just kind of shrugged it off as well. Whatever, you're a terrible god anyway, and she kind of laughed at him. So they kind of left. But Midori reveals something at the end of that after everyone goes home that she cannot send herself back because she had to stay back and hold the portal open so they could pass through. So she just decided to stay on the human world and stay with the humans. And she reveals eventually she'll run out of magic power and she'll just become a regular human. And the government kind of issues her this card and makes her a citizen. So, and we can only assume the same thing happened to Megane, that she just became a human instead because we didn't get to see her at the end at all. So no one knows what happened to her. So maybe she just like Midora lost her powers and became human. So it'd be interesting to see that. But I think a few days later, maybe a month or whatever later, Midori is kind of revealed that she's going to create her own story, and she ends up basically retelling the story we already seen because I mean throughout the anime, I think episodes 1 and 2 and a few others that it's her narration over the events of the story. So she lived the events and she wrote the story, and she calls the story a drum roll, recreators. And I was just like, oh, that's pretty funny. But it's just the cliche thing of mentioning the anime title somewhere in the anime. You have to do it somewhere. And yes, so yeah, she was the one that you've seen the events. She survived all the happenings of with Hime and all them fighting. So yeah, it's fitting that she would be the one to create the story of the recreators. So that's her end card, I guess. And Shota finally returned to drawing. He finally got over his hump of being scared to draw, after his big reveal that what he did to Setsuna and all that. And Guy and Takahashi are working on a crossover between Alice and Celeste meeting because those two kind of didn't get along So they finally wanted to do something together, and they created a story together. They even did a crossover with Alice meeting Mamika one more time, which was pretty nice. I mean, I'll admit that that did hit me a little hard. I was like, that's good, happy emotion to feel because those two didn't get to really see each other, so now they got to see each other again with the crossover. And that's pretty much where the anime kind of ends. We don't get much of an after credits, just something that just saying that it's like Soda drew a drawing of all the characters, and that's pretty much where the anime closes. So we don't really know what happened with Celestia in her world, and we don't even know if the characters, because I think the characters they revealed that when they went back to their worlds, they were not going to have memories of what happened. So they just didn't have any memories of what happened. But it's fine. I mean, they're copies of the anime characters. Overall thoughts. I think the first half had a rough start. Getting into the meat of the series, which is basically the characters fighting Hime to save the world. Which that's one thing everyone wanted because as far as storyline goes, it's pretty basic. We have kind of a very simple take on a Fate Stay Night, where it's you know team versus team. But as you slowly get through the series, more characters are introduced, and they fade away from the whole overall explaining everything. Even though for most people, it's just a kind of a copy of Last Action Hero and Fate. That wasn't really that original, but I thought it had some originality with some of the, taking the creations from a fantasy made up world that out of a novel or an anime was a pretty unique idea, at least in my books anyway. But yeah, the first half had problems getting off the ground, but the second half was a vast improvement. It was, due to them ironing out an actual plot with them, the creators working together to create this massive story, and the birdcage and all that was a pretty good, story for the second half. And my main gripe would be Shota bringing a copy of Setsuna was kind of weak in my opinion, but thinking about it now, it's like there would be no other way to defeat Hime at the time because she can literally do anything she wants. She's very overpowered, and there's nothing they could do to stop her. So, what would be better to hit her with? Hit her with the emotional side. Hit her where in her heart, or whatever you want to call it. Hit her emotional side and make her rethink what she's doing. Even though, again, that's not the real Setsuna, it's just a copy. But I think at that point, Hime didn't really care as long as she got to meet the real Setsuna. So she got to meet a version of Setsuna that it works. So, I mean, yeah. And I would admit there near the end, the last maybe 3 or 4 episodes were pretty emotional just because there's a lot going on. You had Celeste dying, Alice dying in both episodes back to back, and then you had Hime and Celeste or Hime and Setsuna finally getting the talk was pretty nice. I mean, yes, that's kind of all Hime wanted in the end, just to talk to her creator and kind of just talk to her. So yeah, I admit that there's a couple episodes that struck me as pretty emotional. I mean, there's hard hitting stuff in some of those, especially when you get so attached to some of these characters. And there were some relatable moments for me an artist, whatever. When Maria was complaining, not really complaining, but talking about how she compared her artwork to someone else, and it felt discouraged and it made her sad, and kind of almost to the point where she didn't want to draw anymore. Like she just felt discouraged about her own artwork, and I can relate to some of that. I've been there, especially in high school when I was first getting into drawing. There was always, this one kid in my class that was just amazing at drawing. I would draw like Dragon Ball Z characters, and he would do the same thing, but his looked like the actual anime with a little bit more improvement, in my opinion, better designs. And for me, I felt discouraged at times. As I was having fun until I met him, and I was like, oh wow, there is someone who's way better at drawing Dragon Ball Z characters than me, and it felt kind of like, oh, what am I doing? Like I should stop doing this. Clearly, there's someone better than me. But in those situations, like kind of just like Marie, you gotta push past that and realize that you're at your own skill level. You can't compare yourself to others at their skill level. So it's like your way of drawing is different than others. So you gotta push past that and just focus on your own and work to get work a little bit harder to improve your artwork or whatever you're working on. Highlights in the series: A plus animation. I didn't really see any dips in animation in any episodes, and at least from my perspective anyway. OST by Hiroyuki Sorano is just always a highlight for me. I mean, throughout like Guilty Crown and both Attack on Titans and the yeah the train one, I forget what it's called, but you know all his OST work has been pretty good. I know a lot of people give him gripes because it's after like Kill la Kill and all the shows he's done. A lot of the music he does is very samey. You have like just mix of like different languages, and you have different music styles like rap and rock and all this stuff, hip hop and all this stuff thrown together. That after a while you kind of, oh yeah, this is his song, yeah. But for me, it's like every series that he works on, there's always this fresh sound that he can produce with his music, especially the openings. Both openings are just like I have those on repeat every once in a while when I hear them. They're just that good. And again, the idea was kind of creative. Taking characters from made up anime and manga and light novels was a pretty cool idea. Even though, again, like I said, it is a Fate copy in certain ways, but I feel it's a little bit better in certain aspects of characters we don't really know about. We don't know these characters' backstories. We don't have to go on a history lesson of King Arthur, and it's just a fresh take on that for me. And then the last thing, or a couple of things here. Troika making fun of themselves, episode 14, which is the recap episode with Midori, kind of like breaking the fourth wall here and there. It was great. It was just fun seeing Troika not take themselves so seriously. After what they went through with uh, All Know Zero, they were kind of pushing that for a serious, dramatic story, which people didn't like. Just to be honest, they didn't like where they went with that series. So to see Troika kind of take a step back and make fun of themselves with this episode was funny. It was intentionally meant as a recap, which I guess works. But still, making fun of themselves it gets a win in my book because it's like after that again after ReZero or I'll Know Zero, they needed to kind of chill out a little bit. So overall, I give the series a 9 out of 10. I know it's a little high for that, but I don't know. I enjoyed the series a lot. I mean, for me, I would love to see an OVA of Megane at the end because no one knows what really happened to her. Did she become human? Did she disappear and go back to her world? What? We don't know yet. So, and well, I guess she can't really go back in a minute because she killed her creator. So, yeah, I don't know how that'd be possible. But anyway, thanks for listening, and talk to you guys next time.